find organic food in this region. And the tricky bit was that the organic food I could find was really expensive, and I mean, it was always wrapped in plastic, which, was not really kind of what I was. Sorry, just someone joined, I think. Oh, okay. It was not really what I thought would be sustainable. And hence I thought, okay, well, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference for myself, and I wanted to make a difference for my kids and for my family, to eat healthy, and not only healthy in terms of eating salads, but also making sure that what we eat is fresh and has the vitamins and isn't sprayed with pesticides. So I experienced it a little bit around with different ways of, how I could grow in the UAE in this climate. And I'm sure, some of you had a similar experience about it. And I don't know, nothing which was available was great, nothing what I knew of. So kind of isn't my nature to be a little bit curious and trying and testing different things. I was mentioning earlier, for those who just recently joined, that at some point I was thinking about even building a greenhouse on the side of our villa, opening the doors and letting the aircon cooling it down, just to have more growing space or more areas where I could put pots. But I thought it wasn't really sustainable, and hence I kind of skipped that idea and went on. Now, for today, I want to kind of touch essentially on three points. One is indoor gardening and why I really started and how it works, and a little bit about sustainability and how indoor gardening helped me to be more sustainable and reducing my waste, not only the waste for packaging, but also food waste. And then a little bit about my project, so what I did after testing so many different systems. I kind of found out a work which worked for me, and a lot of my friends really enjoyed that and kind of asked me whether I could build them a similar system. So I thought there might be more people interested in understanding what I do. Indoor gardening. Why did I start? I touched on that a little bit earlier already. I started when my kids were just born, and I learned a lot about how or where our food is coming from. And I was shocked, to be honest, to see that the spinach I would buy in a plastic bag in the supermarket actually lost already most of its vitamins by the time it would be on the plate for my kids. And I was not aware in the past that even the berries which you would buy in the supermarkets, which are, organic, which are flown in, are actually not organic anymore by the time they're in the shelves, because in order to treat them in the plane, they're being sprayed with chemicals. And I thought to myself, well, that cannot be the answer, that I'm paying like a fortune for these things and not getting vitamins out of them and getting the chemicals which I actually didn't want. So that was really when I thought, okay, there has to be a better way. And I wanted to find out how I could be much more independent from the supermarket. And that's kind of really how it all started, making sure that my family is eating something healthy and something which is more sustainable than buying it packed in the supermarket. There are different ways about how one can garden, and I'm sure you all have experienced, and some of you mentioned earlier, I've experienced with gardening. A lot of people do soil-based gardening. You can do that indoor and outdoor, and having different pots around the house, and it takes up a lot of space. It works well for a lot of people, but it does take a lot of space, and it takes quite a long of time for the crops to actually grow. So I thought that it would make sense to find a way how things would grow a little bit faster. So I ventured into hydroponics, and I'm not sure whether any of you has already experience with hydroponics. Maybe someone? Anyone using hydroponics yet, or have heard about hydroponics? All right.
I've seen it Carrefour only.
Okay, yes. it's quite a good example, actually.
Yeah.
So maybe I explain a little bit about how hydroponics work and why I decided that was a way for me to grow indoors hydroponically. Hydroponics is the way of growing soilless just within water, like nutrient-rich water. And it's actually really simple because all what you need to have is a water reservoir with water in it, a water pump, and then you have somehow a channel where the water runs through. And in that channel, you will have your plants. And the really good thing about it is that you're on a very small area, you can pack a lot of plants and they can grow. And because they are soilless, you don't have so many issues with bugs or any other animals or whatever else, eats kind of these little spiders or so, which eat our little plants. That was a little bit my issue, kind of trying outdoor gardening, that I put so much effort and love in it. And then there were a bug eating it all off. And by the morning, kind of there was nothing left for me. And I did find that, really sad. So I felt like if I'm putting so much effort in it, I wanted to kind of have it inside. And that's kind of was really where I then started to think about again and said, okay, well, I need a system kind of that works almost independently because I have two small kids and I'm full-time working. So I really don't have time to kind of spend, days and weekends on gardening in order to kind of harvest 3 leaves of kale. Hydroponics was my way because it is really self-sufficient because with a water pump, you can either manually switch it on or off, or I had it on a timer, which helped that I didn't have to water it, right? It would just circulate the water, go back in the tank, and then kind of recirculate and pass it through the roots and recirculate. And all what I had to do is to put a little bit of water and fertilizer in every now and then, but that is kind of what was it. So that's essentially how hydroponics work and how they worked for me. Optioning for gardening at home, I just kind of highlighted some of these options. They are mainly indoor and outdoor, and I usually separated between kind of soil and soilless. And as I said, hydroponics was really the way for me because it's kind of a clean way for me to kind of grow my plants. I am gonna come now, and I thought you might be interested in kind of understanding, if you wanted to do that again as well, how you can build your own indoor garden, or at least how could you try something like that. So I thought I might maybe run a little bit through how I started and how I kind of set up my system, so that maybe that is something you could try and test as well, or ask me questions, and I'm happy to help out. Because essentially for me, I really would like to kind of start a movement for everyone out there to do a little bit of indoor gardening themselves. Because in my view, every little helps. And I think, if every one of us would start growing at home, whether that's indoor or outdoor, we could reduce so much our dependence on supermarkets to deliver food, or kind of flying food from place A to place B, and reduce the carbon footprint. I mean, there's huge potential, and we all think about reducing plastic, but growing ourselves make a huge impact to the environment. So build your own. On this picture, which you see in front of you, there's one of these systems, which is a hydroponic system. I had something similar right in the beginning. Actually ordered that. First of all, what I didn't like about it was it's obviously plastic. And I wasn't so keen on having kind of Chinese plastic in my house. Then this system, I had it actually installed outside, and it was worked for part of the year, and then it got too hot and it would not work. So it does its job for maybe 4 or 5 months of the year, but not for very long. And it's really bulky and very big. So when I was thinking about how can I manage to grow hydroponically all year round, I thought I will have to drop this thing somewhere, probably in my living room, because where else would I have space for it, right? I mean, couldn't put it in a corridor, it would be too dark. And the living room was really the only space which was big enough to put something like that. But I thought it just doesn't look really appealing. And I was kind of afraid my kids would be pulling out the salads. I kept on testing this a little bit for about kind of 2 years and you know, tried it vertically and horizontally. And what's quite interesting to notice, you see from the picture, there is a lot of salad in there. And it's so important to understand which crops you want to grow. Like for me, I heard, you know, so much about tropical plants you're growing or kind of house plants. For me, I'm only interested at the moment in edible plants, because my idea was that I wanted to feed my family healthy and show my kids how things grow, they can eat, and where it's coming from. That was really important for me. So I didn't focus on flowering plants or anything like that. But what I learned looking with this system was, while you can grow a whole lot of salad plants in a row like this, and that works really well, as soon as you introduce, say, tomatoes, which work perfectly fine in a system like that, you have to be really careful where you put them, because this system is quite small in terms of the diameter of the pipes. So what happened when I was testing it, my plants were growing really nicely. But the issue was that after my tomatoes matured and they were starting to have, you know, big juicy fruits on them, the roots grow so much that they essentially blocked the entire pipe. And hence I had the entire water running out of the pipe instead along the pipe. So that kind of all led me to think, you know, in the next step and saying, okay, well, essentially the system makes sense and it makes sense for me, but I think it's too ugly. I think it takes too much space. It doesn't really work with all the plants I had in mind. Except from lettuce, I wanted to have tomatoes. I wanted to have cucumbers. You know, I want to have silver beet, a rocket, you name it. I wanted to grow it all in there. And you can all do that, but you just need to have the right type of system, essentially. So yeah, maybe now a little bit about how the systems work and how you could build your own system like that. So if you wanted to build a similar system like this, to try it yourself, you would kind of need a water reservoir. You can see it a little bit here in blue. Essentially, it's just a box. And ideally, you would take a box which is closed and which is not transparent, because otherwise you will grow a whole lot of algae in there, which I heard can be quite nutritious as well. But I was not after algae, I was after salad and tomatoes. So if you know, in a system like that, if you want to make sure that you grow only what you have in mind, you have to have a container which is doesn't let any light in. And then essentially you can just go somewhere to your DIY store and buy a couple of pipes. Now what they have done here is you can, this system is a finished board system, right? You can just buy it off the shelf if you want it. Or you just go, as I said, in the DIY store and you buy yourself these little pipes and these water pipes as well. And then you drill some holes in there and get yourself some pots. It's kind of all what it really takes. And then you have a water pump, which circulates the water right from the top through the channel all the way down, so that the water runs through the roots of each of the plants and ends up back in the water reservoir again and gets recirculated. The very good thing about it is that you don't use a lot of water. So it really saves our resources of having just a little bit of water. And you can monitor it quite nicely, because you have a lot of the fertilizer which is being circulated through the water and through the plants. So essentially what you need is the water reservoir, then a water pump to get the water up, and a couple of pipes, your water, obviously, pots, seeds, and you would need some grow lights if you decided to grow indoors. For me, I've been testing growing indoors because I wanted to do it all year round, and it works pretty well. Here's just a quick kind of, how shall I call it, like infographic, essentially showing how my system, kind of which I designed, works. So I just like have a little unit which I designed to put it on the wall. And you see here the water tank, kind of the water gets all the way pumped up, it runs through the plants and drips back down and recirculates again.
Excuse me, Aline. Marie is asking how to see the presenter's screen. I want to ask if anyone has issues about seeing your presentation. Does anyone? apart from Marie? No? You can only see your profile picture.
She probably needs to unpin the person. Maybe she pinned it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I even when I pin just you, I can only see your husband's smiling face. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I don't know.
So yeah, unpin it. Can you unpin it? Because then
unpin.
it's gonna go to default.
Unpin it, you mean stop sharing and resharing? No?
Something that Marie would do.
Okay.
That's okay. I might leave and quietly join back in. Please don't stop on my account.
Okay, I really hope you can see it. Otherwise, I'm happy to.
Send it through to me.
It's okay. That's fine. Thank you.
All right.
Keep going.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainability because for me, it's kind of part of why I'm growing indoors. So essentially what I mentioned earlier, I kind of, sustainability for me is kind of being a little bit more self-sufficient. And I wanted to get away from not only buying organic produce, which was so expensive, but because I knew that even if it has organic written on it, if it comes by plane, it's still treated. So it's not that organic as we think it is. And everything which is not organic is kind of really kind of treated nowadays with pesticides. And I think all of us know that. But what I didn't know until recently was that I always thought, okay, well, if I have like a lemon or if I have potatoes which are not organically grown, then it doesn't really matter because it's just the leaves being sprayed, right? My potatoes are on the ground, but it's fine. And I wasn't actually aware that the pesticides go through the leaves into the roots, or essentially into the potato, which I did find quite a bit disturbing because it kind of made me think again that I had to start growing potatoes myself as well. You know, there are just some examples and why I really kind of pushing that agenda so much. And what we also, or many of us don't know, is that there are a lot of hormones in the different plastic packaging which we buy. That's not only for fruit and vegetables in the supermarket, but also, you know, like your cheese, which you buy in plastic packaging somewhere. They're called endocrine disruptors, and I'm not sure how many of you have heard of them, but they really mess with our overall hormone system, with our bodies, you know, and yeah, kind of all these things just kind of really make me think and want me to kind of start growing at home. And obviously, as I said, vitamins are lost so quickly, especially for spinach. I mean, you know, 24 hours gone since harvest, and you know, you might as well eat paper. It's not as bad as that, but they're losing a lot of vitamins. So having it freshly at home and you harvest it when you eat it is perfect because at least you get the benefit of it. Sustainability part, reducing packaging, so growing at home, you know, helped me to kind of avoid individually kind of wrapped aubergines, which we see lately a lot in supermarkets, or even bulk wrapped kind of pre-cut vegetables you get in the supermarket, like convenience food. I'd really like to avoid that. And also I had a lot of food waste of having kind of, you know, salad, which was then 3 days old in my kind of fridge. And I just only wanted to consume what I really needed and not just having it rotting somewhere away. So, you know, that was other reasons why I started into gardening. And obviously because I don't have to transport any food anymore from somewhere else, I can just have it at home. I don't need any planes and, you know, don't need kind of to have any CO2 emissions because my food was coming, I don't know, from somewhere from the Netherlands. And indoor gardening is obviously quite, you know, resourceful because of its uses of water, and you can grow 365 days. So here you see a little bit of me with my son and my project. After 2 or 3 years of testing and playing around and DIYing a little bit, I kind of found a way how I got it work in my living room. So I kind of explored a little bit, you know, about what I could do and, you know, where I could hang it. And I decided that I wanted to have grow lights. So I was just flexible. You know, we have a lot of dark corner in the house where I can't do anything with them anyway. So I thought, why not kind of capitalize on my empty walls, you know, and let them work for me and grow some salads and some spinach for me. And, you know, with grow lights, it works absolutely fine. It's fantastic. It's as good or even better as outside. And it is so much faster than things would grow in soil. So just as an example, kind of, you know, an iceberg lettuce would sprout in a matter of 2 days and is ready for in like 2.5 weeks. You know, kale and spinach take a little longer, but 3 to 4 weeks, and it's ready to eat. Well, if you wait for that to happen in soil, it just takes much longer. And really, the beauty, what I felt was kind of coming up with my system was that my kids really loved it, and they call it now a mummy's project, and they kind of just go and pick leaves from it, you know, whatever. And they even asked me, said, "Mommy, can I get them?" And then they asked me, do I have to wash it? And I said, no, you actually don't, because we have it indoors, and I don't, you know, we have no bugs. I don't need to spray it. It just grows nicely, chemical free, which is great and exactly what I wanted. So yeah, here just a little bit of explanation what I did, and what I felt with all the systems which were outside didn't work that well. Like the original system which I built didn't have any plant support. So I mentioned my tomatoes before. I had sticks and tape around these little different tubes and pipes, trying, you know, to keep them up. And as soon as the plants grew and the tomato were hanging on, that they're getting too heavy, and I tried to put it on the wall and fix it on the wall, and it would just not really work. So when I kind of thought about a better way, I kind of built in some plant support, because I thought, you know, cherry tomatoes and cucumbers, they all like to hang and grow really long. And it just allows me to put the weight on these little plant supports for the plants to kind of not break and grow nicely. I gave mine as well an ambient light. Why? Because I hang it on the wall, and I thought it would look quite nice. So it kind of looks like hovering in front of the wall now, which I personally quite enjoy. So at night, I switch off the grow light and just have the ambient light on when we're watching TV, which is really quite nice. I really like to do it yourself. So I got myself an Arduino, and maybe some of you are familiar with that, but it's a little computer essentially, which you build yourself. And you can add several sensors to them. So what I wanted to do with my system was to make it smart, because I didn't have time to look after my plants. As I said earlier, I mean, you know, with my kids, I'm working, I just have so many things to do and so many things in my head, I always forget to water my plants. So I really wanted to make sure that I kind of get a notification for when the water was low or when the nutrients went out, because, you know, hydroponic system is depending on nutrients. Just with water, your plants wouldn't grow. So it's very important to make sure that the nutrients are always there for them to kind of to really flourish. So I kind of put the sensors in, which help me kind of, you know, to tell me when I have to look after the system. And that's great, because I don't have to think about that myself. Yeah, and I put the water tank in as well, because I didn't want to see it. So I hid it in the bottom of the unit, and I just can fill it when it was necessary. And that's really great, because I kind of save a lot of money from growing it at home now, and you know, I can grow kind of all year round. And here we go. Here's my son. You know, that's when he just came, still in pajamas, from our wall, having picked some of the leaves and eating his kale. And yeah, I mean, I would have never thought. I wanted to educate the kids, right? I wanted to tell them where the food is coming from. I personally grew up on a farm, so I learned about, you know, how to grow in soil. But my kids are here in Abu Dhabi, and you know, they don't really learn all what I know and I learned, and I felt really bad about it. And I thought, you know, with building my project, the kids would learn at least, you know, where things are coming from. But I really did not think they would develop a taste for kale and salad. But they did. And, you know, normally I wouldn't give them anything like salad on the plate. I would just give them some tomatoes. But salad is kind of for us and the adults and the kale. but I was really happy when my son kind of started and said, "Mommy, can I have some of your salad?" And I said, "Yeah, of course you can." I was completely surprised because I didn't expect, that impact on him. But, I love the fact that they now not only know where things are coming from, but because they have grown it themselves, they've seen it hanging on the wall and growing, they got really keen of eating it as well. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that. And so I wanted to thank you all for caring and for joining this. I know I might have been talking quite fast. I tried to pack a lot of information in this session. And I'm handing over now to Mia in order to start a Q&A session.
Thank you for that, Aline. It's very helpful, and I'm so impressed. I didn't know beauty and food can come together. So you have architecture, you have design, you have food, and yeah, it's amazing. I have a question because we're talking about nutrients. So what kind of nutrients do you give to the hydroponics?
So there are special hydroponic nutrients available on the market. I buy those ready mixed. There's usually 3 components because the plants have different grow stages essentially. So from when they're little small seedlings up to kind of growing, and then you have a flowering stage. And each of the stages they essentially need different nutrients and need different nutrient balances. So I just have very good experience with general hydroponics, which is I think a brand from the US, which I use, and they have a little guide at the back of the bottles who tells you, depending on your growth stage and depending on your reservoir, how much nutrients you would need to use. Now, what I have done, or what I'm currently working on for my project is I wanted, because you need to measure, right? You need to measure the different, like 5 milliliters of the green solution and 5 milliliters of the blue solution. And that's kind of troublesome. And you need to kind of calculate how big is my reservoir and what do I need. And it just takes a bit of time. So what I'm working on at the moment is trying to kind of create little pots which have the right nutrients already in, so that the only thing I have to do is kind of just throw it in the water, a little bit like, for your washing machine, you have the washing machine.
Yeah, the tablets.
Machine. Yeah. So that's kind of my idea. I just want to throw them in so that you don't have to actually do any manually work. So that when my sensors would tell me, hey, the nutrients are low, I just take a pot and throw it in, and that's kind of it. And I don't have to kind of venture anymore. You almost need a chemical degree. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Trying to work out how much nitrate is in there and what the pH value. There was, hydroponics especially is quite it's quite intense in terms of nutrients, because that's all what there is, right? If there's no soil, there is no organic nutrients which kind of are around the plant for them to kind of to grow from. So yeah, I'm happy to share as well what I'm using. If anyone is interested to know what I'm using, I'm happy to share that later on.
Does anyone else have a question? You can just unmute yourself and go for it.
Maybe as well, kind of while people think here in the background, you can see some plants. They don't look really bushy at the moment. I'm testing different nutrients and different solution strengths. So what I'm looking at the moment too is kind of how much nutrients I need to find the right balance, right, in terms of the cost for the nutrients and how much I actually can produce with them. So I'm testing different ones now, and I don't know whether you see some of the kale here as well, kind of growing over there. So it's just little pots here, which is my little testing laboratory at the moment. And you can actually, while we're here, you can hear the lights. I don't have them on at the moment. They're different type of grow lights in case you were interested to grow it inside. And you can do that even with soil-based one, right? But grow lights made such different for me because the plants grow a little bit, and even on the windowsill, it's just not enough. As soon as you put the lights on, and I'm going to blind you now. Wait a second. So you can see they're really intense. They are different types though. So these ones are just my testing ones now here, and essentially my testing laboratory. But the ones I use for my unit are white. They're not pink. which must nicer to their eyes, something like that you don't really want to sit next to. And I switch it off now again because I don't want to blind you. So what I'm doing with those, at the moment, they need about 12 to 18 hours of light. So I'm having that on usually during the night. In the evenings when I'm not in the office anymore, then I put them on and have them going until the morning. But yeah, essentially, as soon as you have the plants inside, if you want to have really good results, you want to have some grow lights. And GE, I started using the general ones with GE. They're absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can buy them off the shelf. I ordered them by Amazon, and they're just GE grow lights, and you just hang them up. I mean, they're ready, and it's fantastic because whether you grow tomatoes or salad or you name it, your pineapple plant, for example, you give it a little bit of extra grow light, and it kind of really boosts the speed of the plant maturing. It's fantastic.
Okay. Question, like, for those who want to take the baby steps and probably do a DIY themselves, well, you've taken 3 years to get to a system that's effective and productive. Where can they buy the materials if they were to DIY, start small?
Well, as I mentioned, you can just go to like a hardware store, or I guess for those people living in Abu Dhabi, go to the industrial area, to kind of pick up kind of your pipes there. If you wanted to have something which is kind of more space efficient and maybe more like my system, there's something where we're looking in as well to kind of getting that ready for more people to enjoy. When I started off, a lot of friends came in, and they were really, really kind of keen of getting one of the units. So where I'm trying to finalize things to be able to kind of be able to create more of the same of what I did, so that people could kind of get one of them as well. Probably more towards the end of the year. We're still at a bit of an early stage, but towards the end of the year, if people are interested, that's something that might be available.
That will save them 3 years.
Pretty much 3 years. Yeah, that's right. And there is as well like a do-it-yourself guide a little bit on our website. So if people wanted to kind of go on our website to have a little bit a look around, and I'm working at the moment at an infographic as well, which isn't quite ready yet, but once it is, I'm happy to share that with everyone, who kind of summarizes again the steps about how to start the system and how it doesn't take you 3 years. It doesn't have to. As for me, because I tested a lot of things and I had quite a high aim of what I wanted to get. If you're happy to just grow some salads and you have space, then the system we saw on the picture, you can buy ready. Get it delivered at home, stick it together. You don't even need to take a drill, and you give it a go. You can do that as well. I just didn't have the space, and I really liked. I wanted to have the look as well, right? I wanted to look pretty and not just being hidden away somewhere. So that was kind of important to me.
If anyone has a question, yeah.
I would, if that's okay. I'm Aline. I'm a dietitian. So when you're talking about nutrition value, that definitely is something that resonates with me. Do you know if in Abu Dhabi or in the research that you've done, is there some lab that do that research of evaluating the nutrition value of things that would be in the grocery store versus what you would grow with your system? Have you ever done that research to see what would be the difference?
No, I haven't gone down that route yet. We have been in talks with Khalifa University. There are a couple of professors essentially who kind of specialized in that as well. Some contact with them, and the intention is to kind of during the next couple of months to kind of go down that route and fine tune the nutrient essentially, because obviously your plants get what you put in the water. So doing the process of kind of fine tuning, how these pods and what the fertilizer mix has to be to kind of make sure that the plant has all what we need, and to go down that steps, absolutely, yeah. To kind of analyze that you get the vitamins you're actually expecting from the spinach and not just from.
Because I would definitely agree with you that there's like especially from how far we're getting our fruits and vegetable and the process that it goes through.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I think you need like a little bit of an agronomy or, you know, like definitely microbiology skills to analyze that, and that's something I'm really interested with. So if that goes forward with the Khalifa University, I'd love to hear more about how you're going to set that experiment up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that chair. I mean, what I discussed so far with him is I have little sensors, if I understood that correctly, which I put even on the live plant to see how the nutrient together with the light actually, what effect that had on the leaves of the plant. So I did find that really interesting. So I listened kind of in when she explained to me how she's going to set that up, and that there's a special instrument you would need in order to kind of measure that. And these instruments are apparently really expensive, and there are not many around, like always. But I did find that quite interesting, yeah. And that's really something which is the next stage of going along and kind of finding out about.
Amazing. I think that's
would you be interested in getting involved?
I certainly would. Whether if I would have it would depend on how much time it needs. So I mean, yeah, let's stay in touch, and if I can, and if I have the time and I can honor like an actual commitment depending on what is needed for me, I would definitely be interested. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just letting you know when I have a chat with her. So if you wanted to join in,
yeah,
if that's of interest to you.
Absolutely, I'd be happy.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Absolutely. Did anyone else I asked that before, but no one tried hydroponically to grow anything yet, just in water. It's a pretty new system for a lot of people. It was for me when I started. I sometimes, I talk about hydroponics, kind of assuming everyone knows kind of how it works, because I forget that it was new to me at some point. And you just, assume people know everything about it. And then you realize when I look at you squared that they're actually talking about, and they're just polite and saying, yeah, and nodding along. So, happy for you to ask any questions if I've been a little bit quick earlier and assumed too much.
I mean, I have another question if any. Oh,
go ahead, Jean.
I was gonna ask about and I apologize if you answered that already, because I had to go check on my bread, so I missed a little part at the beginning. But in terms of what are the options that you can grow, and so I'm also thinking about like nutrients and nutrient diversity. A lot of the like greenery things that you would grow would be like higher in folate, like having a certain kind of nutrient range, and I guess because you're giving like the same amount for everything, like what kind of diversity are you looking to be able to grow? Like, can you grow some berries, or like I don't even know like what they can do in hydroponic? I'm not really sure.
No, that's a very important question, and the answer is you can grow a lot of things in a hydroponic system, but it's very important that what you mentioned, you have to have sometimes different system, because not all plants grow within the same pH value, nor within the same nutrient mix. So, for example, your rocket wouldn't necessarily like to be in the same system than your cherry tomatoes. They have different desires, they have different needs, they absorb nutrients in a different manner, in different pH values. So it's a classification of different herbs, salads, lettuces, berries. You can do berries, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, you name it. You can really grow anything, almost anything. The root vegetables are a bit difficult. I haven't tried it yet with root vegetables, but all the others you can. But I guess there are three main categories. So, what you could think about if you wanted to kind of grow a vast majority of the different crops, you probably would need three systems, 3 units, because each of them is a separate water reservoir to make sure that the chemical mix or the nutrient mix, right, your pH value, the nitrate, phosphor, and everything else which is in there, is the right one for that plant type. but you can, like, silver beet and spinach work pretty well together. They would grow together, right? So there are really a lot of kind of information online as well available on that side, kind of what grows well together and what doesn't. So, but yeah, that's a fair point. You can, but you have to separate the systems.
Super, thank you.
I think Hala had another question.
So thank you for this presentation. I appreciate it. My question is about the hydropods that you were talking about. And so I wanted to know, you talked about the nutrients. So do you have to put nutrients, like refill the nutrients in the system, or like what's the durability of that system?
Okay, yeah. It's depending a little bit on the water reservoir. Mine has 16 liters of water. So when I set it up, I would put the nutrients in for 16 liters worth of water. And as I said earlier, there is on the fertilizer bottles which I use, there's a little chart at the back, and it would tell me that for each liter of water, I need that amount of nutrient. And that's when I set it up. And then because it's quite efficient, and I actually have a bottle here, that's kind of what I use. And there's kind of a little chart who shows you different growth stages and how much I would need. And what I do then, the system works all by itself for almost 2 weeks, which is quite nice because it means you can go on vacation or kind of for a long weekend, and you know your plants are not going to die, and you don't need to ask a neighbor a favor. It will just kind of continue. If you put like a timer on it, it just kind of works by itself. And so depending on how big your little plant pots are, like I have little small ones like this, I don't have much evaporation. And this way, I kind of only need to refill the water tank every kind of 1.5 weeks, 2, maybe, like twice, maximum 3 times a month. And I would just add the nutrients to it again. And once a month, I would empty the entire tank and kind of refill a new one. And then I just set it up again with the nutrients from the base. But that's quite convenient because you don't need to really kind of do it every day on a regular basis. It's kind of, it's pretty lean in terms of maintenance, the whole system, and just by itself.
Thank you.
What would you do, Aline, for pollination? Like for if I was to grow strawberries and they need bees, what would you do for like in that case?
So I didn't catch the beginning. What would I do with strawberries?
Pollination, like for things that have flowers that needs to be pollinated?
Yeah. No, I still have to do that manually.
Okay.
That's a good thing. I mean, I could, I should think about building that into my unit somehow. Kind of a little brush going across it every now and then or something like that. Or like an airstream also kind of circulating around. I don't know. No, but it's quite funny you saying that because, when I built it, I thought, how could I be more sustainable? Why do I need to fill water in? Could I just build a dehumidifier in the unit, right? Because like this, it could take it has several uses of it. But, it's quite complex, actually, just even getting the one working, which I have. If you try to compact everything and you put it all in the wall, and, it took me quite a while to just think that through. I think something like a humidifier would probably be the next step. I was even thinking about the light, I mean, how fantastic would it be if I could even use renewables, like a solar panel, right? If I could put a solar panel on my balcony and then like a little cable and that works. And, maybe that is something which kind of by next year or so kind of I can venture into. At the moment, I'm just, trying to really make the unit work properly in a way that it really is that easy as what I said, where I create a ready pot, which is just right. You put it in and, it kind of grows and the app is working properly. At the moment, that's all still under development, and we are trying to finalize that out so that by the end of the year, it is something what people could buy if they wanted to. But it takes me a little while to kind of do all that because it's just, just me having ideas and trying to kind of get some help to kind of get it to reality. But it is quite an undertaking, I have to say, coming from a simple pipe solution to something which is just easy, right? Kind of easy in as much as that you don't need to spend time on it, because I just don't have it, and I doubt any of your moms have any much time at hand. Kind of having kids is usually kind of being kids and not having time for yourself, right? So yeah, it's kind of really important for me to make something which doesn't cost me any time and still solves a problem. It's kind of how I work. Look at things that don't work and try to find a solution to make it work somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of things, I think, to think about.
Be more efficient. Outsource things. All right. Are there any other questions? Does anyone else maybe have any great tips of growing so that I can learn something I don't know?
I would say I would encourage you all, especially if you have kids, to grow pineapples, because you eat the fruit and then you can, as soon as you pull out the little leaf at the bottom, you can see the roots already. I think from a science point of view, it's just so cool that a plant like a fruit already has roots on that fruit to grow. And then if you put it in water, you can see the roots grow. And I mean, it definitely is like an experiment of patience. It's a lot slower than everything you've been growing, for sure. But I think it's amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely I'll try that.
Because of you, we have so many pineapple heads in our garden. I don't know which one will survive, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know.
They're pretty resilient.
Yeah. So if you don't have any other questions, we'll wrap it up. And so we're going to share the recording and all other information that we need to know, how to follow Aline and to know more about her project.
Absolutely. And I'm pleased as well to let you know that we're about to kind of finalize a little kids ebook. And it is a book for growing for kids. Kind of essentially it was my son on one lockdown afternoon writing a little kids book. And we got someone to illustrate it who's still working on it. And it's Jamie and the Plant Project. It's about a boy trying to plant at home.
Wow.
Realizes on the go that it didn't work the way he wanted to, but at the end he didn't give up and realized.
That's it.
I'm really proud. So as soon as that finished, then if you wanted to leave your kind of email address or something like that, I'm happy to share it with everyone who's interested. Probably towards the end of the month, the illustrator is still drawing the images and the pictures. So once it's all finished, I would share that.
Nice. Okay, so thank you everyone for sharing your Friday afternoons, and hope this was a valuable use of your time. And thank you, Aline, for sharing your knowledge.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Mia, for organizing everything. And
You're welcome. So, okay, so Hala, do you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to say thank you also.